Hello, friendships, and welcome back to Tachy Talks. This week we're talking about med student summers. So what should you be doing over the summer? What could you be doing over the summer? What is the point of doing things over the summer? All of that fun stuff. Before we get started, though, we did want to say thank you to our classmate, Romel. We forgot to do this last week. I don't know if any of you noticed in our YouTube videos, we have a cool new graphic that opens up the video. Go back and watch it now if you missed it. Romel set that all up for us. It's a lot cooler than what we had in episode 1, so thank you, Romel.
Thank you, Romel.
Kylie?
So before we dive in to our podcast today, we just want to remind you that we're not associated with any residency program and we're not associated with CaRMS at all. Everything that we're telling you today is based on independent research we've done based on Med Twitter, Zoom webinars, reaching out to our mentors, and good old-fashioned Google. So please don't come for us. If you have any questions about what we're saying today, send us a message and we can get back to you. But again, we're not associated with any residency program. Please do not come for us.
And with that, I guess let us start the conversation. Summer in med school. And honestly, if you are a pre-med or somebody who's not in med school listening to this can also apply to you because
Pre-meds are people too.
Pre-meds are people too. And essentially what summer is mainly used for is just working on your application for pretty much anything. It's important to note that different med schools do have different summers though, because there are 3-year programs in Canada and 4-year programs. Unfortunately, the 3-year programs do not get much of a summer. And Kylie, do you want to talk about that a bit?
So I reached out to one of my friends who goes to a 3-year program in Canada and just asked a little bit about how their med schools work. It's a little different than what we're all used to. So the 3-year programs in Canada, I think, are MAC in Calgary. And they don't really have much of a summer. So after their first year, they do school until July, and then they have 8 weeks of electives. So what an elective is basically you go to another, it's a little bit different right now because of COVID, but you go to another institution and you do rotations in the specialty of your choosing. So this one friend I have, shout out Olivia, she did hers in general surgery. You can do it in whatever you want though. And then after those 8 weeks of electives, she came back to school. And then after her second year, she didn't get a summer because clerkship is going on. So those typical summer activities that you're going to talk about, MAC students and Calgary students get a little bit creative, and they do that throughout their medical school education. So when you're thinking, I know for any of the pre-meds listening, this is just something that you consider when you're deciding between a 3-year and a 4-year program.
Mm-hmm.
But we are going to chat about the 3-year program, what we know of it a little bit, because it's also very applicable if you have to work over the summer. So if working is something that you have to do or you want to do and you're just trying to fit in CV builders on top of that, we also want to be giving you guys some advice because that's tough. So yeah, just stay tuned. We're going to be talking about a little bit of something for everybody.
But regardless, all 3rd-year programs and 4th-year programs have one summer, which is the summer after you get accepted into med school. So right before you start. And in this summer, you have to do nothing. That's my...
Yes.
It is absolutely critical that you go find a patio, put on some sunscreen, go find a patio, and have a cold beverage multiple times, as many times as possible throughout the summer.
Go to a beach, hang out with your friends. If you're not living with your parents, call your parents, call your aunt, call your uncle, and just relax.
Yeah, if you have to work or something, that's completely fine. But make sure you relax before you start med school. And other than that, I guess get in your immunizations and first aids and stuff like that and whatever your school really requires.
Yeah,
you're all laughing at us right now and being like, well, I want to start research so that I'm extra prepared. But I promise you that it doesn't matter, and also that you're going to have way better opportunities when you're actually a med student, because you're not a med student yet. You're a med student in September.
Mm-hmm.
And med school's hard. It's and I'm not no one's lying to you when they say it's going to be a lot of work. You're going to have to do a lot of things throughout the year. You're going to be pulled in 500 different directions. Enjoy this last summer of a break. Last summer, I went on a few vacations, which was nice. And I was lucky enough to do that. I hung out with my family because I was moving far away from home. Take advantage of it. I wish I could go back and relax more.
Yeah, no, for sure. Just enjoy. It's going to be one of the last free summers you'll ever have, honestly.
Med school is great and it's like the best time, but like enjoy that last summer.
Yeah, just
You have lots of time to get everything you need to get. You don't need to be thinking about like what specialty you want to go into. Like, don't even pick up a word of scientific literature, please. Read for pleasure. That's something that many of you probably have not done in years. So read for pleasure.
The only thing you need to read is those requirements for your school, and that's it. Read that.
Summer after first year, though, is slightly different.
So that's where we're all at right now, just so everybody knows.
And this honestly, like, I have to say this right now, but everyone's going to be doing something different. There's no real script that you can follow for what you're going to be doing the summer after first year because it's what you're interested in and what you want to do. But one really big thing is before you start summer, ask yourself a little bit about what specialty you're kind of thinking about. And I know that it's only been first year and a lot of people probably don't know what specialty they're going in, which is completely fine. But if you do have an idea of what specialty you're going in, it might be a good idea to try to build an application towards that. And even if you change your mind, that doesn't hurt in terms of building an application because it could be applicable to other specialties as well. So do you guys want to talk about how you can start doing that a little bit?
Yeah. So like first I want to say if you're going for a very competitive specialty like derm or ophtho, you probably want to jump into doing some CV builders over the summer. By no means do you have to. You can totally match without it. Like, I don't know how it works. I'm sort of convinced they pick our names out of a hat. But you probably want to look at doing some CV builders. If you're looking for something that's a little bit less competitive, maybe you just want to tan all summer. Like, that's cool. But you can also do research and make yourself a good candidate and get your first choice of where you want to go. Like, it's all a game and nobody knows how to play it. So first and foremost, if you had like a really tough first year and you need some time to just chill, like you won't have the opportunity to do that much anymore. But yeah, so if you are looking to do something specific, how can you build your CV up, I guess is the question.
You know, I think the really important thing too is something you can start doing even before the summer, and it is so important, is finding like a good mentor. And I can't really speak to other schools, but our schools, we had so many emails come out being like, oh, sign up for this. We'll match you with this person. And like, we had mentorship programs for people like for a fourth year to be like matched for the first year. You can find like a physician to be matched with you. Sign up for those programs. They were so useful. I was so intimidated at the beginning of the year. I was like, oh my God, like I'm in first year. Why do these people want to talk to me? But like some of the best information I've gotten for emergency medicine, like it comes from the people who have already gone through it. So like they will guide you through it. They will help you out with it. And kind of like what I would have been told is that it's so important to take time for yourself. Like the summer after first year, even if you want to go into those competitive specialties, like, yeah, like it's good to have it on your radar, but like take time for yourself. Like at the end of the day, you have to be healthy and happy and you want to enjoy your life. You want to enjoy med school. So take the time to take a rest, relax. But with that, in terms of finding research and stuff, it kind of starts throughout the year. I think you guys would agree. Like we have like grants and funds that go out, and our school sent us a list of researchers from the school that you can contact. We have a special course where we have to do research throughout the year, but I'm sure all the other schools would send out a list. What do you guys think?
I think most programs that I know of do have a research component. So it's very much the opportunities are readily available if you just put a little bit of effort in and send out those emails. It's nice. I found that researchers and doctors and Kylie and I are actually working with a nurse researcher and she's like the coolest person ever. So you can match up with any healthcare professional and they are so much more responsive than when you were a pre-med. Like if you say like, I'm Hailey from...
people answer our emails now.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, you actually answered my email. That's so cool. So that's really nice. But yeah, getting research going, I think Kylie and I are working on a few research projects right now, and it's been really cool. I mean, like we've learned a lot. And the other thing you need to remember about research is that if you can't find something in your specific field, do not stress. I've been on several Zoom calls for programs and they've all said that like if you have research, that's good. It doesn't need to be like if you want to go into surgery, it doesn't need to be surgical research. Just the fact that you have shown that you're able to do research, you can carry that responsibility, you can be part of that research team, you have those skills of like writing manuscripts and stuff, that's enough. So I mean, don't jump on research opportunities that don't interest you at all, because that's pointless. But if you have something that interests you that's not like necessarily in your chosen field, that's totally cool. And you should definitely go for that.
You know, and another really important thing to consider is that I've been told that research is not your whole application.
Mhm.
Like there's so many other things you can get involved in. Research is important to have. I think like CaRMS and residency is getting more and more competitive every year. And it is important to have it on your CV. But that being said, like there's so many other things you can do. And I've been told like a poster presentation at a conference is like enough to get the check mark. And you really have to look into like the programs that you're interested in and the specialties you're interested in, because they will, like if you go on their website, they'll tell you usually kind of what they want in a good candidate. And some people would just want that check mark poster at a conference. Other people will want a little bit more. But again, it's all up to your interests, and goes back to what Advait was saying. Like you need to start considering what specialty you're interested in and where you see yourself, I guess, 5 years in the future.
But going off of that a little bit, it's important to not really compare yourself to others in terms of choosing a specialty or doing research, because I know it's so hard to see what other people are doing and then thinking to yourself, oh my God, this person already has a publication. I don't have one yet. You can't really think like that. Everyone goes at their own pace, and just do what interests you, because if you force yourself to do something, that's how you burn out.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And it's like an impulse reaction. One of our classmates, Peter, actually just published like a little article yesterday. And obviously I was super excited for him, but also my reaction was like, what the heck? I want to publish an article. And then I remembered that like I'm working on one and I did a blog post really, and like I've got a lot of my own shit going on, but it's just like that gut reaction to be competitive, you know? So you kind of have to like step back and remind yourself like, hey, I'm doing my own thing and we're all going to be okay.
No, yeah, absolutely. And then I would recommend, they kind of touched on it before, but each university runs a little bit differently. So when you start university, try to ask around for any grants or any scholarships they're giving for research, and see if they're giving any special research opportunities where you can kind of get paid. There are also opportunities where you can go overseas for research. So I know our school, Schulich, was giving the opportunity at the beginning of the year to go overseas to do an observership or do research. Unfortunately, COVID kind of canceled those plans, and I don't know how it's going to look in the upcoming years, but just know that there are opportunities like that. If you want to go traveling during the summer but also want to do research, you might be interested in doing something like that.
And schools have programs to go overseas, not for research. So if you hate research and you do not want to look at research besides what you have to do ever, that's totally cool. And you could spend your summer doing observerships instead. So if you really want to get like that clinical experience, you can go overseas to do that. You can stay here and do that. There was actually, our school was offering a program at a hospital, like a rural-ish hospital, for 6 weeks of observerships, like wherever you wanted to do it in the hospital. And stuff like that can be super, super valuable as well, because the more confident you are in a hospital setting, the better you come across when it's time for clerkship or observerships in first and second year and stuff like that.
With that program too, the one that goes overseas, like you can go anywhere. I know someone who had gone to Greece. I think a lot of the locations in Europe take students. I know there's a lot of countries in Asia you can go to. Australia, I think, is another place on the list. I didn't personally apply for the program, but we had classmates going like all over the world. And it doesn't need to be a country either. Someone was telling me they went to Greece, so Greek wasn't their first language, and they worked with the physicians there. And I think that's like a really cool skill that you won't really get in Canada, because we have like a very diverse population in Canada, which is great. And we want to be able to provide the best care for them. And being able to communicate with someone when they don't share the same first language as you is really, really difficult. And that's not a skill that you can come by easily. So I think that that's such a great experience. So there's a lot of really cool skills you can take out of all the programs.
So one, I guess just kind of summarize, research is a really big thing you can kind of start to look for in the summer, and observerships as well. And we talked about that a little bit overseas. You can also do observerships in Canada. Once again, I don't know how traveling in the future is going to work due to COVID, or how strict they're going to be about that. But if you do get the opportunity to go to other universities or other cities to do observerships, I would definitely hop on that. Even if it's something that you might not be interested in, it might give you an idea of what you might be interested in if you do it. So yeah.
Can we talk about summer stuff that like doesn't stress me out now?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Here's what I think. Here's what I think everybody should do in the summer. Start a podcast.
Oh yeah, 100%. But like, don't make it about like the stuff we're making ours about.
Yeah,
Your
it'd be
own
kind of
yeah.
rude if you stole our audience.
Yeah.
But like, you could make one about like reviewing old movies.
Yeah, you could do
Watch
one
one
about
pops up that's like Brady brawls, like Brady card.
Brady brawls. Like it's just people fighting really slowly.
Oh, like they like argue over medical stuff.
That actually would be kind of funny. Maybe we should trademark that.
Maybe we should like it can be our alter ego podcast.
It's gonna be the one where we just debate.
It's actually just Fight Club.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the three of us fighting the whole time. Just kidding. I couldn't fight with you guys.
Yeah, I'd probably be like, you're not gonna beat me up.
I would laugh. I think we meant like verbally, Advait. Nobody's trying to hit you.
No, you guys.
How do you
wouldn't
fight
be
someone
able to
over?
beat me up.
Could you like
Put
punch
'em
through the
up.
screen?
Put 'em up.
Boom, boom.
You're hitting me. Stop.
Oh God.
If you're listening on
Wow,
Spotify, that made
we're
no sense.
If you're listening on Spotify, go to YouTube so you can peep my sick white coat hanging in the corner of my room.
And Apple Podcasts, can't forget about them.
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
If you are listening to this on a non-visual stream, please go over to the visual stream so you can peep my cool white coat in the corner of my room.
Okay, we get it. You're a med student. Wow.
No, like sometimes
She's
I'm
really
sitting at my
flexing
desk
on
where I
us.
like do
Yeah.
my work right now, and I do my work, and then when I start to cry a little bit, I turn around and I look at it, and it inspires me to keep going.
Okay.
Oh, good. Nice.
Do
That
you
was
need
you
a-
just shut
Hailey.
me down so hard.
Do you need to talk to someone? Are you okay?
Like probably.
Okay. We'll talk later.
Hey, can we talk about cool things we do during the summer? I think Advait has something cool to share.
Hey,
Yeah, what cool thing did you do this past weekend, Advait?
Yeah.
I went skydiving a few days ago. Why?
Whoa.
I don't know, but
Whoa.
Wow.
I know I'm
Cool.
I'm a cool guy.
Wow.
I created an Instagram account a few days ago, and the only reason I created one was just post pictures of me skydiving. So that's it. If you're not following me on Instagram, do that.
You're not
Advait
following me on
_ D.
Instagram, do that.
You can follow me if you want.
But really, honestly, you don't have to follow us. Just follow Tachy Talks on Instagram.
Just
That'll
follow
be fine.
Tachy Talks.
Yeah, that's all we need. But I guess what the main thing they're trying to say is have fun in the summer. Don't stress out with everything. I am not even doing research right now. A lot of my research plans got canceled because of COVID. So I'm just relaxing. I'm reviewing a little bit about some stuff that I learned throughout the school year just so that I don't forget it. But other than that, I am not really doing much research. I'm not working. But if you wanted to work during the summer, you can do that as well. That's an option. Volunteering is an option too, right?
Yeah.
Especially with all the COVID stuff going on right now, I'm sure you can find local businesses or non-profit charities to help out with. Do you guys know about any COVID volunteering or anything like that?
Well, you guys should all look into that. There's a grant right now that if you work through eligible volunteer sources, I don't know, you'll have to read more about it. They'll pay you. The government will pay you. So it's $1,000 per 100 hours, which is $10 an hour, which is less than minimum wage, but more than you usually get paid for volunteering, which is $0. So that's an improvement. And I know that there's a lot of COVID stuff going on through that. So definitely something we're checking out. You can probably find it on like just the Government of Canada website.
I know that we're a little late in the summer and late in the COVID progression, but back in March, the federal government and the Ontario government both like released databases for people to sign up. And I know right now they're looking for people who signed up for those sorry, I can't use my words, to go volunteer in long-term care homes. And then what Hailey was saying about the grant as well, don't quote me on this, but just one thing to keep in mind with that. And obviously, like, getting money for volunteering is amazing. Like, that's great. But they do it like in 100-hour increments. So you have to work 100 hours to get the $1,000. So if you only work like 150 hours, then you only get $1,000. But if you work 200 hours, you get $2,000. So that's just something to keep in mind as you're volunteering. But that is such a great program and so nice that they're compensating people too.
Yeah. So if you're trying to set something up, then whoever you're working with, make sure you ask them, like, am I going to get a full 200 hours or 300 hours or whatever in there to make sure that you're getting, because like that's a good way to do a volunteer thing that can be very fulfilling and helpful for your community, but then also be receiving money to help pay fees in the fall, because med school is not cheap.
Really isn't
With
cheap.
COVID too. Yeah, no. A lot of the med schools have set up their own kind of like COVID volunteer responses. So I know our school set up a Facebook group early on, and I think a lot of other schools have been inspired to do the same. So check with your medical school if they haven't invited you to the group already. I'm sure there's something going on if you want to get involved in helping out Canada with COVID.
Absolutely. Moving on from there, another thing you could do this summer, and I guess this is kind of personal to me, is getting exercise, working out. I think
I
this
thought you were
is
going to say sleep.
sleep too.
It's also
sleep,
true.
Sleep kind of counts for like wellness. I guess like sleep, yoga, exercise, whatever you want to do that makes you feel well. I don't know what word I'm
Fulfilled.
looking for here. Makes you feel fulfilled.
I guess so. I mean, Hailey is the one who's on like the good sleep schedule. You and I, Advait, are not doing good.
Yeah, we're not doing good.
This is like the earliest I've been awake in months.
Yeah, and like we're recording at 11 a.m. right now, and I'm still kind of sleepy. So not the
See,
best.
I
right now.
have to keep my sleep schedule because I get grumpy when I don't keep my sleep schedule.
Wait, you're grumpy without what?
Yeah, sorry?
I thought you're
Pardon?
always
Yeah.
grumpy.
No, that I'm always grumpy during the school year because I don't have a good sleep schedule.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
I'm working
I was
on it
gonna
though
say,
because I
things are
don't think
starting to add
doctors
up.
have the best sleep schedules, so I'm working on that. But no, I also like to get my workout in before it gets super hot outside. I'm at my parents' house, which is air conditioning, but my room has like a big window. That's where I do most of my like indoor workouts, so it gets a little steamy. So I like to get that, and then I also like waste half of my morning. I don't even know what I do. Like I like shower and I make breakfast and play with my kitty a little bit, and then it's like noon, and I haven't done anything. So am I really being any more productive than you guys? Probably not.
100%, yeah.
When you wake up early though, you just feel like you like seize the day so much better. Like if I wake up at noon, I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah, you feel bad, and then I don't know, your day just doesn't go as well. And
I
then you
mean,
don't feel.
yeah,
I don't feel productive at night either. Like once it gets like 11 p.m. at night, like I could be productive because I'm not gonna sleep for a while still because I woke up late, but I don't do anything that late.
Once it hits like 10 p.m., I turn on like Outlander and I watch it till 3 a.m. because I can't stop. And then I wake up at noon and then I like try to jam everything I need to do into the few hours. So that's my goal this year, is to learn from Hailey and be on a better schedule.
Yeah, so just try to have a good schedule. Try to get some exercise, especially because it's some people find it hard to get exercise during the school year since they get just so busy with everything in med school. So it's really important to take care of yourself because being a physician is not an easy job. It can be very taxing on your body, especially how long you have to stay awake and things like that. So I find it funny how we talk or we learn to tell patients like, hey, you need to be getting 150 minutes of vigorous exercise every week. And then I'm not doing that myself. So yeah.
The other thing is like nobody's saying that you have to like go run a marathon or like lift weights. Like even just getting outside to go for a walk with your dog or whatever, or your pals or yourself, have some alone time. That is also very good. And I know it's steamy. If you're in southwestern Ontario right now, probably the rest of Ontario, but especially here, it is steamy.
Yeah.
So waking up early or going in the evening is always nice.
If you're interested, so like some of the stuff that I've done this year, with COVID, a lot of the online platforms have offered like free memberships. And so Peloton is what I started using. And Peloton, like I know it's really, really pricey month to month, but they did like a 3-month subscription for free, which is really great. And they have like all kinds of online classes. And they still have like a 30-day free trial if that's something you're interested in. I know Hailey does like Chloe Ting workouts on YouTube. There's a lot of HIIT workouts. There's a lot of yoga on YouTube. What else?
Actually,
is there
switched
anything else you
over
said?
to Gabby Shea. You guys should all look her up on Instagram.
Yeah.
She's got some sick workouts. And Heather Robertson, that's another good
Heather
one.
Rob, that's the one that everyone talks about too.
Yeah. Are Peloton, are they the bike people? Do they have stuff that's not biking?
Yeah, they have all kinds of stuff that's not biking. So like, okay, everything I do is Peloton right now. Like they have like strength training, they have running workouts, they have like treadmill workouts for their Peloton treadmill. I know Peloton's expensive. You don't need like the bike or the tread. But they also have like outdoor running workouts that are guided. So that's kind of what got me back into running. And I know one of our classmates, Katie, I know you're going to listen to this, Katie, but me and her always talk about, hi, Katie, always talk about like Peloton workouts and stuff. And so she recommended a bunch and she got back into running with them too. And it's just kind of like, okay, it's so good. Sorry, we're just going to talk about workouts for a second.
Sponsor us, Peloton.
Oh my God, could you imagine? The Nike app is so good. It's 100% free. All the same stuff as Peloton pretty much. They have like guided runs. They have like guided workouts. It is great. Nike Run Club and Nike Train Club. I highly suggest those two. Totally free if you want to get back into working out.
Yeah, so welcome to Tachy Talks. We are now a workout podcast.
Almost
every week. Absolute
Look at those
gains.
buys.
Look at those gains.
The beach is that way.
Bring your beach ball.
But yeah, that is essentially the summer of first year. Research, work,
Oh, we're only after
volunteer.
first year.
Yeah. Start a
Gosh.
podcast. Boom, bang. Observerships, working out, just enjoying yourself, getting good sleep, things like that. And once again, like, you're not supposed to be doing all this. You do what applies to you, what you're interested in, right?
Have you guys ever heard the advice to just like take one summer off in pre-clerkship and do nothing?
Absolutely. I've been told that. Like going into school, I remember I went to a financial advising appointment with the company that does advising for MDs. And
Okay. Wow, that was smooth, yeah.
And she told me, she was like, use your line of credit to travel one summer and don't do anything else. Or like use your line of credit to get married. Like, and I was like, oh, I need a boyfriend, but thank you for the advice.
Use your line
We
of
could turn
credit to
this into
get
The
married?
Bachelor.
Yeah, she was like, this line of credit isn't just meant for med school. It's meant that you can like live your life during med school. So go traveling one summer. If you like need to do life events like getting married or having a baby. I was like, I am a baby, so not gonna do that one, but I appreciate your advice. And then like every professor you talk to, every upper year you talk to, they'll all say the exact same thing. They'll say, use the summer to go travel. And if that stresses you out, because like the idea of that actually stresses me out, you can travel for like a month and then do a month of other stuff. Nobody says you have to be away for the entire summer. It's all about balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's something else too, like life events. I feel like a lot of med students like use their summers for that. So I don't know anyone getting married right now. We definitely have classmates who have been married. But I know like after fourth year is a big time before you start residency where a lot of people plan their weddings. And I've also heard people, there's like a little bit of a break after third year. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, but like I know people get married there. So if you have like a significant other and like it's in your life plans or maybe you're a little bit older, like you can still like life still goes on with med school. Like there's definitely ways to balance it. Plus like you're going to have all these new friends to invite. Woohoo.
Welcome to Tachy Talks. We're now a marriage counseling podcast.
I was just saying we could turn this into The Bachelor for Hailey or Bachelorette, sorry.
We could, yeah.
Hailey
That is
muted.
an option. If nothing else works, like that's going to be our backup. We even have like the heart as our logo. So we're set on that.
She has her mic muted and she's doing all kinds of action. So if you're on YouTube.
I did not realize I was muted.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
I'm very embarrassed. I was just saying that I would love that, but also that we're kind of making me seem like it's kind of weird now. You're like, if nothing else works, what else are we trying? Like, is it really that hard to find someone to date me? That's kind of rude.
I think we've offended her.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. I mean, it's just, if nothing else works, just throw that in there.
Jeez, this podcast is a mess. So
right.
sorry to everybody listening. We're going to get back on track now.
Okay, I think we just like talked 10 minutes about random stuff. But year two
can I tell
summer-
one more funny story before we go into year two summer? So we
Sure.
always turn on our phones to time ourselves just so we have a rough idea of how long the podcast is. And so I turned on my phone to record the time last week. And apparently I never shut it off. And I opened up the app to record the time this week. And it was at 180 hours, 22 minutes, and like 47 seconds or something. I took a screenshot of it. So if I was wondering why my battery was draining so quickly this week, that was why. Turn off your timers, people.
That's a good
The
tip.
longest podcast ever.
Would that be a world record or something? No, I'm sure
We should do a 24-hour podcast.
No, why are you guys obsessed with not sleeping overnight?
I don't know.
You guys are
24-hour
wild.
live stream. Oh
Maybe
my
that'll
God.
fix my sleep schedule. Like stay awake
What
for
is-
24 hours.
I've heard that you just like reset yourself with the 24 hours.
Yeah.
What is the longest podcast in the world?
While she does that, we'll move on to year 2.
Woohoo.
Year 2 is similar to year 1. You can still do your research if you're interested in that. You can still do volunteering. You can work, observership, stuff like that. The only difference in year 2 compared to year 1 is that you can start preparing for clerkship. And, there's different ways to prepare for this, but a lot of people, what they do is just, if you know your clerkship order already, you can start reviewing things in that order. So you're kind of prepared because you don't want to go into your clinical rotations without going over your notes at all. So that is something you can do in the summer, just going over your notes before you start clerkship.
That was kind of what I wanted to do this summer. I had these like grand plans to go over everything we learned these years and this year, sorry. I make like clerkship notes so that when next year came, I could like easily review everything. I'm just going to say that I have not gotten to that yet.
I've been doing that, but it's very slow going. I'm still on cardio. Which was
Cardio?
our
What
first
about
block.
What about blood and I?
No. I'm not doing blood and I. I'm going to pretend that those two things don't exist. So if any preceptor ever asks me about an antibiotic, I'm going to say, I'm so sorry, I don't know what that word means. Can you use it?
No. You say piptazo and then you move on.
Piptazo.
Or like for blood disorders, I'm going to be like, I think it's anemia. I'm not going to specify what kind. It's probably anemia. Or like something awful. Those are the only two kind of blood things, is like anemias and awful things.
Not even specific, just something awful.
Like
we have a
leukemias and
podcast?
stuff.
Yeah.
Like we learned about all of that in blood.
We need to do a podcast of, as a future thing of silly things that first year med students have said, because I have said some really silly things. Like this year, I confused a calcium deposit for a defibrillator or pacemaker. Sorry. So that was my good move this year.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, no, first year say some questionable things, but that's all right. We're here.
But that's
We're here
okay.
to learn. Yeah, that's
as long as you
completely
learn
fine.
from your mistakes, they all know that you're learning.
Yeah. As long as you don't think a calcium deposit is a defib when you're in or a pacemaker when you're in like residency.
Yeah, and if you have seen a pacemaker on like a chest X-ray, you're not going to confuse that with anything.
They're not close
They're
at all.
very
I
obvious.
don't know how you confuse that.
It was late. Oops.
Okay,
learned.
so
I
what
know
else
now.
can you do in the summer of second year to make yourself a good CaRMS applicant?
Not necessarily a good CaRMS applicant, but something else you can do is start studying for your step 1 and writing your step 1. So we'll have an entire episode.
What is step 1 before you talk about that?
Yeah, so
Just a brief
USMLE.
overview.
Step 1 is USMLE. It's just an examination that people have to write in the States in order to start their clerkship rotations. But Canadian people write it so that they can do, what's the word I'm looking for? Fellowships in the States.
Fellowships?
Yeah. Canadian students write so that they can do fellowships in the States because a lot of programs have more fellowship opportunities in the States. So if you're going into something that like I know a lot of surgical programs have way more fellowships in the States. So if you're going into some surgical specialty, maybe think about writing your step. Even if you have no plans on working in the States, you can always do a fellowship and then come back to Canada. So we'll have a whole episode on the USMLE and STEP and stuff like that in the future. But most American students write it after or in the summer of second year. And as a Canadian student, you can also do the same if you're interested in that. But you can also write it whenever you want. So as a Canadian student, don't stress about it too much.
Yeah, step with Canadian students, well, I feel like we're a bit unique because we go to medical school in a city that's very close with, like, we're on the border and like we have a very strong relationship, I think, with Detroit. And so I find like a lot of the students and a lot of people who live in Windsor like will work across the border. So I think it's much more common where we are. But in general, like, look into it because there's a lot of nuances for Canadian students when it comes to it. And like, again, you don't have to write it after second year. I've heard of people writing it like during their residency for their fellowship. So
yeah, and there are multiple step examinations, like you have step 2 and stuff like that. And you don't have to write them in order. You don't have to write step 1 and then step 2. You can write step 2 first, and then step 1.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, but usually the knowledge you need for step 2 is more advanced than step 1. Step 1 is a lot more like background knowledge, if that makes sense. Less to do with
I've heard
actual.
that STEP is kind of like the MCAT in that it's not really medicine. It's more like science.
Yeah, I heard of like basic
Step
sciences.
1 is like that. Yeah.
Step 1, yeah.
Step 1 is like a lot of science. Step 2 is more clinical. Just note, I guess I'll just add this in as a side thing. You don't need this step to do fellowships everywhere in the States. It's just to do fellowships in certain certain universities. I think it's just based on which state you're going to. They require the step or they don't require the step. But it's a good thing to have just in case. And especially if you're trying to do some surgical specialty. Those are the people I feel like get right to step the most.
Yeah,
But
that's what I've heard too. Everyone I've met who wants to do a fellowship in the U.S. has been a surgical specialty.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, other than that, second year summer, similar to first year summer. Just remember to relax before you start clerkship, because once you start that, that's just a nonstop train.
Yeah, so let's talk about third year summer. Oh, wait, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
I think there's supposed to be a 2-week break that you get, but I am so confused what's going on now, especially with COVID changing everything.
Yeah.
Also, like at that point, I feel like you just use those 2 weeks to relax from the year of nonstop work that you just finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect you to do anything during those 2 weeks. Just relax, watch some Netflix for 2 weeks straight, get married.
Get married, have a baby.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
2 weeks fit all your life in. Oh goodness. But yeah, no, so how fourth year is typically supposed to work is that you go straight into your away electives. I don't know how this is going to look in the future because of COVID. Away electives have been canceled this year. And what's going to happen next year is anyone's guess. I think a lot of it depends on the virus itself. But usually you're supposed to, at least for us, you travel across Canada, do rotations at all the different medical schools across Canada. And then, so I feel like those 2 weeks is relaxing and then also getting ready for the next step of your journey.
And then we have summer after fourth year, but like, is that really summer after fourth year? Because you kind of graduated at that point. I don't know.
And you're like a real adult. You get to walk around and say to everybody, actually, it's doctor.
Don't do that.
That's true.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah, go to Starbucks and like order a coffee and then make them call you doctor.
Have a name, please. It's Dr. Gerton. Thanks.
I mean, you know what? You worked hard for that degree. If you want to flex it in the least in your face way, do it.
You do what you want to do. I will
you
not
change
do
your
that.
Twitter handle. Change your Twitter name to have an
MD.
MD on it. Or my credit cards all expire in 23, which is the year that we're graduating. So I'm going to change all of them. Instead of saying Miss Hailey Gerton, they're all going to say Dr. Hailey.
That is very specific.
That's
I like that you thought about
to.
that.
That's the one. That's like my big thing that I'm looking forward to. I don't need to tell the people at Starbucks to call me doctor because I'm going to have it on my credit card.
I'm going to tell my bank to call me doctor.
Yeah.
Why is everyone
in your face?
Why is everyone reading your credit card?
I do a lot of shopping. It's not good.
Fair enough. That's why she has a closet filled with clothing in the back.
Guys, this is my office space. Do we want to talk a little bit about what we are doing this summer?
Yeah, sure. You want to start?
Sure. So, I'll explain what I'm doing this summer, but I'm going to take away all of Kylie's thunder because we're doing everything together.
We're the same person.
So we're doing this podcast, which is super cool. We have a research project going on with a nurse researcher, like I mentioned before. She's super, super cool. We have a project going on with an emergency medicine doctor out in the county to redo a resuscitation room. So that's super cool. And basically we're just like learning a lot. And then the other thing that I'm doing, which would be the only thing I'm not doing with my partner in crime, Kylie, is I'm helping to plan. I'm on the orientation coordinator committee. So I'm one of the 3 students that's planning orientation for the incoming 2024s. As you can probably imagine, it has not been a walk in the park because everything's constantly changing. We don't know what we can do in person or online. But if any 2024s are listening to this, and I hope you are, it's going to be sick. So it's going to be great. And we have a lot of fun stuff planned, and I can't tell you about it yet because it all has to be improved. But be here for orientation week because it's going to be worth it. I pinky promise.
Hailey's really stressed out.
I'm going to cry.
The way she said that, she's like, I picked you probably.
I'll just piggyback off Hailey because we're doing the exact same thing. Like, we'll close the podcast and I'll be like, okay, bye, Advait. Hailey, I'll talk to you in like 5 minutes because we have like a million things going together right now. In addition to the projects I'm working on with her, I'm just trying to chill a little bit. Like, I had a kind of a rough year, and I'm
you could say that, yeah.
And I'm just trying to relax a little bit. And we talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the podcast, but like I have this really bad habit of comparing myself to others and like feeling like I'm constantly not doing enough. So I'm trying to like take that thought out of my head and reprogram my brain. But I've been going to the cottage a bit. My family rented a cottage, which is going to be really fun. Hang out with them for a bit and my dog before I move back to school. But yeah, that's my summer. Oh, and I've been working out. I'm really proud of myself. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you want to compare, I guess, just compare to me and it'll make you feel good. So I am doing nothing this summer. I guess I'm doing this podcast, which is one thing. But other than that, I'm just kind of playing tennis. I recently started that up with some of my friends, and tennis has been really fun. It's a steep learning curve, though. I'll tell you that. And other than that, like, I'm not really doing research or anything or observerships or anything at all. I'm just kind of reviewing some of the stuff that we learned throughout the school year just so I don't forget it all. And that's it, really. I'm just kind of working out, enjoying my summer, reviewing a little bit, a few hours a day. That's it. And just enjoying life.
Skydiving.
That was one thing. We'll see what else we have planned, but I don't think it's going to be as crazy as skydiving.
You're not going to go swimming with sharks?
Maybe in the future. I have to go scuba diving first before I try that.
Where would he find a shark in his hometown?
My hometown is Windsor.
Windsor?
Like Detroit River, maybe. It might have like a mutated shark.
Because you can't even, like, I was going to say, go to the Detroit Zoo, but, like, you can't even go there. The border's
Detroit River
closed.
is more dangerous than diving in with a bunch of sharks. Like, you'll get every disease jumping in that water.
Many toxins.
Yeah, many toxins. But you don't have to have a crazy summer. You can just enjoy it, or you can be as busy as you like. It's all up to you.
Yeah. Isn't relaxing important?
Mm-hmm.
Very important. You don't want to get burnt out. There's nothing worse than being burnt out because then you just... Instead of taking a planned break from everything, you take a forced break from everything at a very inconvenient time because you can't work anymore, and that tends to mess things up. So just be proactive about your mental health and take some time to relax and do what you got to do for you.
Yeah, you'll see in med school, they stress mental health a lot. They have a lot of wellness things, a lot of events going on, and that's for a reason, because med students and physicians have some of the highest rates of burnout. And I guess that's something we can talk about in the future. But for now, just know that it is a very taxing job and a very, very stressful role that you're in. So just try to enjoy things when you can.
So let's try to squish this all into like a little summary of what. So our question was, what should you do over the summer? And our answer was, if you want to think like CaRMS route, like what can I do for CaRMS? Identify what specialty you might want to go into, find some research or some shadowing that's maybe in that field or related to that field somehow, and sign up for it and go for it. If you don't want to do research, do some observerships instead. Or you could volunteer. You could get really, really ripped and work out a lot. You could start a podcast. You could sleep a lot. You could... what else did we say?
Read for pleasure.
Read for pleasure.
Read for pleasure. Study for your step. And if you're in a 3-year program or you're working, you can kind of just sprinkle this stuff in. So I know like researching throughout the year is probably something that you can throw in there. Volunteering throughout the year is something that you can have a little bit of time for. But if you're in a 3-year program or working, you might want to think about more longitudinal. So stuff that is not as much volume at once, but as like you can spread it out more, and that might make things a little bit more manageable for you.
Yeah, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So that's how
And
you
Yeah.
prevent.
doing
And if
real
you're-
life stuff like hobbies and stuff, that makes you a good CaRMS candidate. It's not all about research and observerships and stuff. Showing that you are a real life person who's able to have a life outside of medicine and you're not going to burn yourself out and you know how to interact with people, that's super important.
So important.
And if you're a pre-med listening to this, this is the exact same thing as when you're applying to med school. You want to
Yeah.
have a life outside of, honestly, a lot of the stuff we talked about today applies to pre-med as well, like the research, volunteering work, whatever.
Yeah.
But the big thing is you want to have hobbies. You want to have your own personal interests as well that you can talk about.
Yeah, like, so because of COVID, a lot of the residency programs have been doing like Zoom calls and anyone can attend no matter like what your medicine you're in. And the emergency medicine one, like this is coming straight from the program director's mouth on Zoom. Like they are looking to make sure that you have hobbies and that you like to do things outside of medicine. So don't like neglect that. Like that is really, really, really important.
Yeah. So unless anybody has anything else they want to talk about, I'm going to pull up our Instagram because we did ask this week what everybody was doing over the summer. So I'm just going to share some of those answers.
One other thing before Hailey talks about what our classmates are doing. There is, at our school, we have something called Learner Equity and Wellness, and I know every single med school has it. They can help you find like connections to, like if you're struggling with your mental health, they're the first person you go to. But if you're also struggling with like what to do in the summer, you're a little bit confused about like the path you should be on, you can go to them, make an appointment, and they'll help you out. They'll try to lead you to the right resources or at least connect you to someone who can start getting you on the path that you should be on.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, very important resource. So we asked on the podcast, med students, what are you getting up to this summer? And we got a lot of research, relaxing, just hanging out. A couple of people are working. We have a few people studying for the MCAT, doing MCAT prep, and then also somebody who picked up a few extra courses because everything was canceled during quarantine, so might as well get those extra courses in over the summer. Very smart, very motivated. Good job to you.
Yeah, I think one of our classmates is taking art classes right now just because.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So fun.
Yeah. She's just taking art classes just because she can.
Yeah, so we do
Cool.
ask questions every week on the Instagram, whether it's like, what questions do you want to ask us about this week's upcoming topic or questions about you, because after all, this podcast is for you. It's supposed to be about you guys. So make sure that you're following us on Instagram at Tachy Talks so that you can see those questions and you can participate. We love to hear from you. We love to hear your questions. So make sure you jump on there. And also something to look forward to is this week on the Instagram, we're going to be doing a day in the life of a med student during the summer. So each of the three of us will take a turn on the Instagram stories, just kind of walking you through our days. So if you want a little bit more of a full picture of everything that we talked about here today, make sure you're following the Instagram and you can tune into that.
Yay.
Yay!
Long silence.
And with that, if you are pre-med still listening, we got you covered next week. Next week,
Woo!
our topic is all about the OMSAS. And if you don't know what the OMSAS is, that's pretty much applying to, or the application for med schools in Ontario. So
The Ontario Medical School Application System.
Yeah.
System.
Okay. So stay tuned for
Same
that.
place as OUAC.
It's going to
Yes.
be a big podcast. We'll be discussing everything about how to do references and who you should be getting for your verifiers, things like that. So.
And like I just said, we will be asking for your questions, what you want to hear specifically about the application on Instagram. So make sure you're following us at Tachy Talks. If you don't have Instagram, you can always catch us on Facebook, on Twitter. You can
Just comment
send
down in the
messages on
YouTube as
YouTube.
well. Yeah,
you can comment on YouTube. Any way to get in contact with us. We're on all of our socials all of the time and sending your questions.
Yeah. And with that, I think that's the end of the episode. Do you guys have anything else you want to add?
See
You guys are all great, and you're going to do great things over the summer, and you're going to do great things in your lives.
Yeah, I guess finishing it off with the last sentence would be like, just try to find a partner so you can get married in the summer of med school. And I think that's the most important thing.
That's the
today's
takeaway
podcast.
from this
That's the
podcast.
takeaway of the entire podcast.
So you can get married in those 2 weeks after clerkship.
After clerkship.
Yes.
Because it'll be a fun, like everyone's going to be stressed after that. So, you know, if your marriage gives anyone happiness, I think it's worth it.
That sounds like my personal nightmare. Like you would just gone through like 52 weeks of like stress and you're at the same time planning a stressful wedding. I'm getting a wedding
Would
planner.
lose my
Just kidding,
mind.
I can't afford that.
I'm getting a wedding planner. You see,
I
that's
really
the trick.
want-
You have to be rich before you get married.
Right? So I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, but
hopefully
you
I can
answered
afford
the
it.
questions yourself. Line of credit. That's what it's used for. That's what it's used
Maybe that's
for.
what she meant. You needed your wedding planner, so use your line of credit.
All right, I think we're done here. We're just talking.
I'm just kidding. Bye.
Okay, we'll see you guys on the socials. We'll see you guys next week.
See you guys
We
next
hope
week.
that you enjoyed this and have a great week.
All right,
Thanks for listening to us.
Thank you so much.
Bye.